Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Leaders Uncut. And today it is my great pleasure to have with us Tim Fullerton, who is the President and CEO of Fullerton Strategies. Hello, Tim. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing great, wonderful. It's a new year, new blood, new energies, all new, right? I love to start New Year's. It's just, well, there's always something exciting about this for me.
Yes, like the optimism of what's ahead, right?
That's exactly this optimism of what's ahead. And I think what's ahead is actually very exciting. So I can't wait for you to speak about what you're doing with Fullerton Strategy. That's a full
Yep.
service creative agency, right? And I loved how you present yourself. You love to break things. So tell me, what do you like to break?
Yes. Well, and thank you for having me on. It's great to be here. I I have always liked to break broken things. It's not just to break things, but I worked at the U.S. Department of the Interior during the Obama administration for 5 years, and my deputy came in one day and he said to me, "You like to break things, don't you? Or no, you're here to break things, aren't you?" And at first I thought that it was an insult, but then he was talking about me breaking broken systems and
Yeah.
fixing them. So I've always enjoyed wherever I've been in my career is finding the things that aren't working and break them and make them work. So that's sort of what has always given me my drive in my career.
I love it. It's so important because, yeah, I think you have to have this type of approach when you go somewhere. I would imagine if people hire you, it's because they need to implement change, right? Or
Yes.
optimize what they are doing. And when you want to optimize or change, you have to break a few things along the way.
That's right. That's right. And that's generally where most of our businesses come is that people are coming to us for help on all aspects of marketing and looking at trying to take some different approaches and get some wins.
Wonderful. So you say you have a high touch, frictionless collaboration. So where do you start when you start speaking with businesses who are looking at optimizing their marketing plans or implementing new technologies? What is your process? That would be great if you could touch on that.
Sure. So it's a great question. And first of all, it's really listening to the leader who comes to us and, trying to find out at least at the beginning of like what is working and what is not, and where do you want to be in 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
So getting that high touch idea, because a lot of executives, they're generally not from the marketing world, so they don't always necessarily know what they want. So trying to make it easy for them to give us a top line of a basically measurement of success.
Uh-huh.
And then once we have that, we really just dive in and we take a lot of time with our clients in literally sitting down and talking to them, usually one-on-one or two-on-one, to get their thoughts. And this is across the board: sales teams, marketing teams, everybody,
Yeah.
to really hear from them so that you get a full picture of the sort of the state of things, which
Right.
makes it much easier for us to go back and say, like, this is what we propose to do and this is what we think the
Okay.
outcome will be.
Yep.
But we really do spend a lot of time with our clients talking and listening. Most importantly, listening is the biggest piece of it.
Yeah, no, that's important. I think and I'd love you to touch on this. The marketing world is changing. The business world is changing, right? We are now
Yeah.
submerged with new technologies. AI is coming in. There are things that businesses perceive they can do themselves thanks to AI. And therefore, they think, hey, we can create our designs, we can do this, we can do that, we don't need a marketing agency anymore. So I would love you to address that because, yes, you can do a lot of things, but still you need a strategy. You still need experts in communication. You still need processes. So if you could touch on that, because it's a trend that I'm seeing, but I think that's a trend that will be modified, reverted, because they are going to realize that it's not as easy as we think it is.
Right. Yeah. And I think the word of 2025 from a marketing perspective is flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And we are finding more and more that businesses, it's really not a great idea necessarily to, like, say, hire one marketing person, right? These companies that are coming
Yeah.
to, they're starting to get some cash. Maybe they've done a Series A or something like that. And they're like, we need a marketing person. But generally, what happens in that is that they try to have one person do all of the things, which is really difficult.
Yeah.
And what a lot of companies are realizing, and obviously this is good for us, is that for roughly the same price, you could hire a fractional marketing team to where you get 4 or 5 people that are experts in a variety of topics for roughly the same price as a full-time employee. So you're actually getting a lot more for less. And then you get the flexibility of, you don't have a full-time employee, so you're not having to deal with that if that's not working out. Also, that person is kind of set up to fail as well. So it's great to see more and more companies looking at flexible models. And then as far as AI is concerned, AI is a great tool, but it's certainly not a replacement for a marketing and sales team. That's for sure, right? Like I think it helps to save some time with things, but I think the companies who are cautious with it and cautiously curious about AI, I think are in a good spot. But certainly AI is not at a point where it can replace, actual human beings doing marketing or sales work. That's for sure.
Well, you still need a creative mind, although you can do a lot
Right.
of things with creativity, but you still have to have a direction. You still have to have a style. You still have to come up with those key communication points so that everything makes sense, everything is cohesive, which is very important. So that's why it's important. So tell us, do you see any specific tools that companies should be using or any specific trends in marketing that you believe will be successful this year?
Yeah, I am still very, very bullish on organic content, more so than actually paid content. And I think that companies that figure out how to develop organic content that feels authentic and real are the ones that are going to succeed in 2025. And I'm certainly not saying get rid of paid, because paid has a very important role. But I think, as we're seeing more and more, companies are taking a little bit more of a like unpolished approach. And I think that's what users want to see. They want to see real people doing real things, or real businesses doing real things. Maybe you give a bit of a behind the scenes. We've had clients have great success on both like for short form organic video content. We had a client really jump into YouTube Shorts, and it allowed them to essentially triple their subscriber base within a year. And it was really not highly produced stuff. They were a medical company, so they had, doctors that were in their videos and things like that. So there was a certain niche. But everybody has something of value to show people. And I think that the ones that are diving in on video and social content,
Yeah.
I think they're going to see really good results if they stick with their plan and they find their audience and they create content that is relevant to them.
And then you just gave the 3 points that are critical, right? You have to find your audience first.
Yep.
You have to know where they are, right? And where they are on a consistent basis. Then you have to create a communication that is relevant to them. That's the second point that's very important. And then the third one is you have to do it consistently, not just think, hey, I'm going to do a 2-week campaigns and think that everything's going to work and I'm going to generate 300% more sales. No, it's a long-term approach, right?
Yeah, and it is a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
this is why, like we sort of said, the one person model in marketing doesn't really work anymore, because, when you're doing, the volume needs to be at a certain level that, it's keeping people interested. You also need to be responding and managing all those comments that come in. I mean, when I worked at WeWork for 5 years in marketing, and we were constantly in the replies, and because people were asking questions like, how do I book, do all these things. So
Yeah.
have to dedicate the time and the resources to it in order for it to be effective.
Yes, no, that's for sure. That's very important. And like you mentioned, also be authentic. Don't think you have to edit everything, make it so perfect, because then it's
Right.
not, it's not real. It doesn't feel real. It's not as efficient. So I think it's really not being afraid to be vulnerable. I think that's the term that I've been looking for. It's be you, be real. Show your weaknesses. It's okay, because then people can relate with you.
100%. And we're also seeing like a lot of businesses are turning to their CEOs or folks in the C-suite to do a lot of the marketing for them on their channels, like LinkedIn, for example.
Yeah.
There's been an explosion of organic content in the last 2 years on LinkedIn. And a lot of it is really coming from individuals rather than company pages And so, finding that internal champion, whether it's your CEO, your COO, or whoever,
There you go.
to be your champion, like you're going to get a lot better results if you've
Ah,
got sort of internal champs as well, pushing content and not just relying on your company profiles to do the lifting for
I
you.
agree. This is what I've been doing for 7 years and building
Right.
my own profile. And then each time I have clients, I tell them you have to have a representative of the company. And people like to do business with people, not with companies, because people have a face. And,
Right.
and then you can speak with them, you can see them all the time on LinkedIn. So I say be active. You don't have to post every single hour, but post every week, and then comment on others, and then share insight that will be beneficial. That's
Yeah.
very important. So it is a commitment, but if you do it over time, you're going to see results.
100%. And I think
Yeah.
that the engagement is the most important thing in digital and in marketing right now is, engaging with people who are writing to you and talking to you, but also to reach out to people who may be potential clients and things and engage on those as well. I mean, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, as you mentioned, you do. And a lot of times I'm inserting myself into other conversations because then it gets me in front of potentially a whole new audience of people.
Yes.
But it does take time, and you do have to dedicate the resources to do it. But that is how you get ahead now. It's
That
not
is,
just
yeah.
yeah, it's not just you can't spend your way out of it. You have to be a little bit more innovative and take the time to actually do the work on these platforms.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do it every day in the morning when I wake up very early, but I spend half an hour. The first thing I do is, hey, I go on LinkedIn, I comment on people's feeds, and I give my insight. I post articles, and I make sure I use the right hashtags, and then I invite people every day. Of course, you have to grow your network because that's key. So it's not a nuclear science. It's very simple. It's just like you said, dedication and commitment to doing it every day.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that the commitment to doing it. And I think there are some people that don't necessarily have to do it every day. I mean, I think for those of us in the marketing world, it
Yeah.
is definitely a daily occurrence. But I think, I have clients that do, 2 times a week and they see good results. It just depends on the audiences and things like that. I think certain people are going to be power users. But sometimes it's just like getting out there a little bit and,
Yeah.
just giving some personality because you're right. People want to follow people,
Yeah.
not necessarily brands, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
but like then that person becomes part of that brand too. So it's
Yeah.
like it's just a different approach. And I think that the execs that have been doing it have been seeing real success, not in just like, vanity metrics of like followers, but like revenue and new clients. I mean, most of my business has come from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like, I just got out of a meeting just now with somebody who was, they were like, "Oh, I saw your LinkedIn post and it reminded me that you do this work, and now I need to talk to you about,
Yeah.
potentially being, becoming a client of ours."
Yeah.
And that was just from a random post, and that stuff happens all the time.
It does. It really happens over time. And I think what's important is to remember to provide value. I always say you have three things you need to do on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or other platform. You have to educate
Yep.
because a lot of people don't know certain things, So educate. You have to entertain because people want to also have fun. So
Yep.
if you make people laugh and you entertain them, well, guess what? They're going to remember you, right? And then you have to be there as their to hold their hands and guide them and help them overcome their challenges, because we also need help with that. Sometimes you feel very alone doing it. So when you're genuinely interested in helping people, then you will
Yeah.
build connection. You will build connections.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that, I think it's great, especially on LinkedIn, like, that there's so many people that are willing to help others. And I think that the people who are sort of just in it for self-promotion, people kind of smell it from a
Oh yeah.
mile away. But I think that, it really should be a two-way street. It should be people helping each other. And I certainly I have a lot of and I've taken the lead from other people who did it before me, but even just like congratulating an old colleague for like getting a new job or something like
Yes,
that,
true.
or like offering to help somebody find something. It doesn't take a lot to be a kind, decent person.
Be
And I
kind.
think, yeah,
Yeah.
be kind. It's always we have a different word, which your audience can probably hear, but we have a no jerks policy. It's a different word than jerks internally in my company. But part
Yeah.
of the reason I started my business was because I wanted to work with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And I want to work with clients. And I even have a podcast myself called Politigood, which is good people doing good things in business, politics, and tech. It's really been like, I'm just, I just want to work with good people, and our clients are good. And it's just like, and I think more and more people are realizing that kindness goes a lot farther than yelling at somebody.
Absolutely. And when you get comments that are not always the type of comments you like to read, that's okay. I always thank people for commenting. I may not agree with them, which is okay, but I thank them. I said, thank you for your insight. It's greatly appreciated. I may not agree with you, but for such and such reason. But hey, we're here to have a conversation, and that's great to have different types of opinions.
100%. I am always, and I worked in the political world for a long time. So trust me, I'm used to some disagreements. So but I've always been somebody that I want to hear feedback too. I'm a human being, so I'm not, 100% perfect, not even remotely close. So, but then I find those dialogues, sometimes you learn things from them too. So, but the yelling and the screaming thing can leave that on other platforms. It's not something
that doesn't work. So you have a fascinating background. I mean, it's incredible everything you've done. You've worked in politics, just like you said. You've worked with WeWork. What is it that you have learned? And I'm sure you've learned a lot of things, but I would like you to pinpoint one thing that you have learned that has been extremely beneficial to you in your life, and that would be beneficial to our listeners here.
That is a great question. And I think it's something like that we were just talking about, is that being kind and empathetic, I would argue, are the two most important values in a coworker or a manager or somebody that works for you. And I think the reason that my career has been the way it has been is because I've built a big network, and I've tried my best to treat everyone with kindness and respect. And it pays off down the road when you're thinking about a new job. They might know somebody there, and all of these things. And I just think, there was the sort of old school, like, I guess 1980s, I'm thinking Wall Street mentality of like, the yelling and the screaming to get ahead. And it's like this big, but I think we're moving into hopefully a more kind and empathetic work environment. I can't say for everything, but and that to me has always, like, the bosses that were really nice to me, and really kind, but held me accountable, I would run through a wall for that. But the ones that, did the yelling and the screaming, no. And it's just, it's right morally, but it's also from a business perspective, it's a game changer.
I agree with you. It's very important. And the one thing I've learned myself is it's important also to surround yourself with people that are educated, but smarter than you too. A lot of people feel threatened by that. And they hire people that are not as smart. I mean, in their point of view, obviously. But I love to have people smarter than me, because first of all, it makes us stronger. But second of all, I'm going to learn a lot from them.
Absolutely. And, I know this is like a thing where, you're always sad when people on your team go to another job. But one of the things that makes me feel the best about being a boss is when I have somebody on my team that is like taking the next step in moving up into. So like, I've always tried to hire the smartest, best people in those positions, knowing that they probably will be gone in a few years, but like, that's how it should be. And I've never, I've always, it's so fun to see now that I'm like 20 something years into my career, see people that, work for me now take being in similar roles as I am, or were a few years ago. And it's such a rewarding feeling. And it just pays itself back, especially now that I'm in a world where I'm looking for clients, like having this network, it's just been hugely valuable and just feels good too.
Yeah, I know it does. So tell us, Tim, you're working, of course, you've been in marketing a long time in a lot of different industries. Are you looking for clients in a specific vertical? What type of clients are you looking for?
We, because my background is so kind of wild and diverse, we really we work with a wide range of clients. I think that the way to sort of think of it is probably like the smaller to mid-sized companies that, like I said, like don't necessarily or can't afford like a full marketing team. It's really more about that fit rather than the particular industry, because my team is also quite experienced. So like we've worked with fintech companies, we've worked with emergency medicine training companies, we've
Mm,
worked both with the University of Michigan and with Yale
mm,
on projects. So we're really like industry agnostic.
yeah.
Um, we just are looking for companies that are, filled with good people and are excited about their challenges and just need the help of an agency, a smaller agency like myself, to dive in and do great work with them.
Yeah, and what I love about smaller agencies like yours is that you are very typically more flexible
Yep.
than a large corporation. Also, typically a little bit more affordable.
Yep.
And then you're hungry too. I mean, you're hungry because you know that you need to make a difference and that you can offer so much. So I think that hunger is also a critical component.
Yeah, and I'm from Maine, so I'm a New Englander, so I'm very competitive.
Yeah,
So I like to win. Probably why I did politics for so long.
yeah,
But I love the scrappiness and I also like the challenge with the big agencies, right? Is you see the name, like the person that pitches you, and then you get picked to
yeah,
junior folks. And with my agency,
yeah.
you get me and my team the whole way through. And I love doing the client stuff and seeing clients' reaction to good work that's being done for them and everything. So yeah, I love this size. We're growing a little bit, but I love being in this sort of what I call, I guess, the boutique marketing agency, which is our fancy way of saying smaller
Yeah,
agency.
yeah, but that's true. I think that's a niche that is very powerful and it's becoming more and more powerful because I see that every day with new technologies coming in at the speed of light. It's critical to be agile. You have
Yes.
to be agile, and when you're a huge organization, it's a lot more difficult to be agile. And then you have to be proactive. So there are so many advantages of working with a company like yours. That's definitely something to think about when you do look for marketing or advertising help.
Well, geez, maybe I should hire you to do my sales for me. You're like doing this better than
There you
I
go.
agree with everything you said.
There we go. That's because I've been doing this for a long time too. Oh, that's great. Well, that was really nice, Tim. Thank you so much for your time today. So, if people want to get hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
You can either connect with me on LinkedIn, where it's just my name, Tim Fullerton, or you can go to fullertonstrategies.com and hit the contact us button, and it'll go right to me.
So, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. It was great having you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so everyone, I am sure you enjoyed my conversation with Tim. Please get hold of him. He's been in marketing all his life, working for, as you heard, politics and WeWork and a lot of other organizations. And sometimes you don't think you need help, but when you have a conversation and then you address your challenges, you're going to get the kind of insight that you did not think about. And sometimes there's a golden nugget in that insight that may shift your strategies and your tactics in a way that can be game changers. So never hesitate to get hold of a professional like him, because it's very important to have that outsider point of view on what you're doing, which is hard to do when you live your business so close every day. So don't hesitate to get hold of him. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I need your help spreading the messages, share with your network. I cannot do it on my own here. So do all of this. I would be very much appreciated. And we will see you next time.